Good morning, wonderful listeners. You've tuned into Post Session Podcast, a podcast filled with the stoke of a surf session and the wise guidance of an ocean voyager. Your water-loving hosts are ready to share this infectious state of mind while encouraging and inspiring you for your next adventure. And so here we are recording now. Hello, Laurel.
Hey, Ashley. We're back.
We are back, and we're in the new recording space, which is quite swanky.
Yeah, I'm not going to give Josh any props, though, because he didn't start recording till now.
I know. Amateur. Amateur.
But I will introduce our guest today.
Please do.
Keni Rienks. She is the Cape Fear Surfrider Chapter's president.
I think you mean Surfrider Cape Fear.
No, on Instagram it says Cape Fear and Surfrider.
On the website it says Surfrider Cape Fear. I even changed it.
Well, you know what? The only person that can answer this question is Keni.
It is a very legitimate question. I think it just depends on your perspective, right? Just like all of life. We look at it from one angle, it's Cape Fear Surfrider. We look at it from another, it's Surfrider Cape Fear.
There is no right answer, y'all.
Tomato, right? Yeah, it's definitely tomato, though. So, all right. Well, let's get into it because I have a lot of questions for Keni today. I have a lot of questions for you. I know Laurel does too.
Yeah.
And getting to know what Surfrider does and yada, yada. But let's start with our post-session notes. Post-session notes is basically our last foray in the water. So sometimes it's really interesting. I went diving. I went doing something.
Sometimes but this time for me, I mean, really haven't been surfing in a week. It's really sad. But I was just going to say, of note, I got to attend the last event of Surfrider Chapter this week for the year and speak at the chapter meeting.
Ooh.
Yeah, Keni invited me, and it was really cool. It was a neat group of people aging from middle school and under maybe all the way up to their 70s. And so it was a nice mix of people.
What'd you talk about?
Well, that's funny that you ask. No.
You can't remember?
Yeah.
You blacked out?
Yeah, pretty much. I blacked out. Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about until I saw their post when they said that I was coming and speaking. The guy mentioned that I'd be speaking about what I've learned from surfing, what it was like to be a female in the surf realm, and so I just kind of jotted down what they had said, and then I filled in the blanks when I was writing what I was going to say.
They made your homework easy.
Yeah, they did. And actually I had somebody come up to me and say, wow, you're the first person that spoke that didn't have notes or a PowerPoint. And I was like, uh-oh.
You're like, that's nothing to be proud of. That's because I didn't prepare.
Yeah. Yeah, I said, did you mean I was rambling? No.
Well,
they were actually very complimentary.
It's funny because my post-session note has nothing to do with water either. It was
wrong
about the Hall of Fame induction that happened, which you
Wrightsville Beach.
Yeah, Wrightsville Beach Watermen's Hall of Fame.
Watermen's. So it does have to do with water.
I also did not prepare.
You did. You were prepared.
Yeah, well, I know how to talk about me.
Exactly.
So that's a bonus. But I do wish. You always wish,
Looking back.
But having heard everybody and having seen how people responded to the things that I said, there's a lot more that I probably should have included.
Well, what she's talking about for our audience that may not know, Wrightsville Beach has a Watermen's Hall of Fame where they honor people who have had legitimate accomplishments in the world of the ocean, and that goes above and beyond what, the average oceaneer person might do. Oceaneer, I made that up. But a true waterman. So meaning that they are not just maybe a surfer or a diver, but they have a lot of things that are included in there. They have a full array of maybe you should tell me. What is that?
Oh, real nice. Real nice. You slop it on my plate. Now I'm supposed to gobble it up. Okay.
Improv, baby. Improv.
Let me unpack that. Yeah, so it's a waterman, and it's supposed to be. They have different categories, obviously, but I mean, my friend and a guy that we interviewed on the podcast, Peter McGuire, describes it best. He said a waterman is just not everybody that owns a paddleboard. Mm-hmm. That's not a waterman. A waterman is somebody that just has done everything on the water, has learned from the water, has eaten from the water, has traveled on the water, and just, it's a major part of their life. But anyway, Laurel nominated me, so she got to give a little intro. Thanks, Laurel.
Yeah.
That was really nice because I never would have done it otherwise. And I got to give a little talk after, and then we had tequila.
Whoop, whoop.
And she didn't finish hers.
So, unfortunately, guess this was not an actual water. Maybe Kenny's been in the water.
Did you go to the water?
Before I talk about my story, I would love to know if did you receive something?
No.
Like, did you receive a title?
Inductee. She was
Inductee.
But
inducted.
is it called the Watermen's
Yes.
or the Waterwomen's?
It's the Watermen's.
Like plural.
The
Yeah.
Waterwomen?
It's for both.
For both.
But it
Yeah,
doesn't
watermen and
change-
women. There's no designation.
No
There's
designation.
no
Man
differentiation.
means man or woman.
Man means
a
man or
waterman
woman.
is a man
Like
or
a
woman.
human.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's how they're used
Okay.
it.
All right. So mine is tangentially related, maybe a little more closely. I've not been in the water either, mostly because I do not like cold water. You reach a certain age, I know you've started surfing a little bit later. I started surfing when I was 10. So just in the last 40 years, I've just become a wimp, and I will watch
What's
my
your cutoff?
Yeah, pretty much Labor Day.
Oh no!
I will
right.
watch my children surf, and I will enjoy the water on occasion, but it has to be blissful for me to put all the rubber on and try to hit the waves. But ultimately, for me, my closest ocean encounters come in my coastal physics and engineering class. I teach high school, and one of my classes is learning about the beach profile right now. So last week I took my group of high school students to Fort Fisher Beach, and we walked the transect of the beach. We took sand samples. We took the sand back to the lab and analyzed the grain size and the composition. And now we're sort of looking how the ocean currents and ocean waves affect different type of sediment transport.
Cool. So do you take them to different beaches then? Since they're at different angles?
Depending on the unit that we're in. The Fort Fisher Beach just has sort of the most idyllic beach profile, really being able to see the identity of the dune, walking the berm, seeing some elevation changes in the berm, and really recognizing the parts of the beach. Like as I tell my students, like as a doctor, you're required to memorize the bones. You need to know all the names of the bones and the skeleton. Well, as a coastal engineer, you have to be able to talk about the profile of the beach and be able to give names to all the parts of the beach.
And so it's very easy to see the specific parts.
And we'll go to other beaches as well. This was just a really good place for them to get
Familiar.
familiar. And we've been to Wrightsville Beach. We have a lot of plans to go to Carolina Beach and visit a lot of different beaches
fun.
and compare. Yeah.
Which school? I remember going to Curry Beach in college, doing similar.
So I'm at a local independent high school. So I'm not in the public school system, which gives me a lot of autonomy and gives me the freedom to be able to give these opportunities to my students. It's an upper school science elective. And so the students that are there are very genuinely interested, and we have a physics requirement at the school. So instead of the traditional physics where calculation problems start with a student on another planet throws a ball. For some students, particularly that are not strong in math, that's how can you calculate students throwing balls on planets?
Right.
So I apply the concepts of physics to the ocean. And it's something that these students are really familiar with. It's something we can go and see and put our hands on and test and just give them the opportunity to be able to conceptually experience these physics concepts that are really hard for a lot of people.
That's awesome.
That
Man,
is
I want to
cool.
be in her class.
I remember really liking physics though, because and I didn't love math, but I remember really liking physics because it sort of illuminated the way that the physical world, relates to itself, and it gave you some problem-solving strategies when in relation to like speed and distances and those kinds of things. Very useful.
It is very useful, but it's a scary subject for a lot of students, particularly females.
Well, I only meant that I want to do it, but not be graded in it. You know,
She just wants to go to the trip to the beach.
Yeah.
I'll invite you to the beach next time.
And brown bag her lunch.
But
That's
not
what she
applesauce.
No, not anything from the mom van.
So let's talk about the injustice of the week. Did you think of an injustice of the week?
Yeah, I
You must have many.
I actually do have many, but I was thinking about the last time we did a beach cleanup on Wrightsville Beach, and this beautiful woman walked up to us and asked if we had done anything with mats. And at first, it took me a second to figure out what she was saying, but it turns out that she is a local Wrightsville Beach resident, and she has a son that's in his 20s and is completely wheelchair bound. He's a quadriplegic,
Yes.
and there is a mat to get out of the beach.
Yes.
There's one in Carolina Beach, but Wrightsville Beach doesn't have any. And here we
Some
are.
beaches have them like every access.
Right, but Wrightsville Beach doesn't have one. And here we are, like one of our own residents, with a 20-something-year-old son who was in an unfortunate accident in his late teens and just wants to be able to go out and enjoy the beach and can't. And that really is, for me, an injustice when I think about how lucky we are and we as
How much
as
it means to us to be
surfers
able to-
and watermen, and sometimes we get a little bit of our locals,
Yeah.
get a little bit of, but it's so toxic to think like that. It's such a part of our surf culture to be like, my wave, my beach, go home. And thinking about how much it gives to us, just Laurel, just thinking about your talk that you had at Waterman's for Surfrider and talking about that spiritual connection that you have and what a gift it is, and having to have somebody go through the physical and emotional toll of becoming a quadriplegic in their teens and then not be able to enjoy the ocean.
Yeah.
In his
And
backyard.
The kind of weight that it puts on the family members
Right.
too, because there is the big wheel, soft wheeled thing that, you would have to be a weightlifter to get a grown man.
Right.
That's a pain.
It's terrible.
But what's the solution? To go to some town hall meetings and make it
What do we gotta
apparent?
do? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm on
I
it.
hope she's listening, because forgive me, I cannot remember her name. But I told her to reach out to me via the website, and let's see if we can figure something out. Because
Yeah.
Surely there's a solution.
There's definitely
Yeah.
a solution, and part of Surfrider's mission, for as much as Surfrider focuses on the environment and advocating for the environment, there's a huge social component.
Yeah.
And being able to share the
Accessibility.
beach and accessibility for everybody.
for everyone.
Yeah, and so it is definitely an initiative that I would love to look
I wanna
further
be a
into.
part of that. I will help with
yeah,
that.
and
Whatever.
we're not talking about wheelchair access at every
one.
every single one,
But I
but
mean,
like
just one.
let's have one.
Yeah, just
right?
have one.
Are they on the
and-
north side of the beach or the south side?
They're near Mercer's Pier,
Okay. Well, that would be
That's
an
the perfect-
ideal
right?
The perfect spot.
right?
that would go up to the bathroom and out.
And there's enough money there. to
Well,
get-
I
to
mean,
get
maybe
some
the
mats laid down.
parking.
I was just gonna say, I
fund.
feel like for
Seriously.
what we all pay for parking, right?
It
I'm
should
sure
pay
that
for
I'm
that.
sure we're a
You
broken
know,
record in
I'm
that
sure.
conversation.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. We will definitely
You
probably
know,
get into that conversation.
Also, that might be something. I'm not a part of the WBLA right now, but we were talking to the town manager, who I actually went to high school with, about doing a surfboard rack and
right.
building one at like the south end, and maybe spreading that along, because it would be nice to be able to spray it down and not,
Right.
how nice would that be? But maybe there could be something, this seems more important than that, honestly.
well, reach out to him first.
I will. And
And he'll tell you, oh, well, here are the steps. You need to go to this town hall meeting. You need
yeah.
to-
So the thing was, the WBLA, we were going to design, build, and install. So all they had to do was just say, okay, we approve or not
Mm-hmm.
approve. And they liked the design, but that was as far as we got. But for this, I mean, by chance, have you seen any pricing on what those mats cost? Or-
I have not, and that's another thing. Like, as far as being Surfrider and a non-for-profit, if we put an initiative together and people made tax deductible donations to Surfrider specifically for
That.
such initiatives, then it wouldn't necessarily have to be the town of Wrightsville Beach to pay for it. It
Right.
wouldn't necessarily have to be tax dollars, but people could rally together, make a donation to Surfrider, and then it'd be
or
tax
maybe the
deductible.
parking
Yeah.
could pay for half.
Right.
And
There
Surfrider,
could
you
be
know.
a way that we work together, which is how it should be anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a joint initiative. That is one of the best injustices we've had.
That was a good one. Yeah, because that seems like one that we can actually do something about.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think we'll dive deeper. Do you want to start, Laurel, or do you want me to start?
I can. Mommy.
You start. I have
I'll
some
say-
very specific items that I want to talk about. but-
Well, okay. So
Yours is more
I
general.
wanted to know how you got involved with Surfrider, what prompted that, and then to you, in your opinion, what are the most threatening, pressing issues that are facing our area right now?
Great. Well, how long is the podcast? Yeah. Right. For two reasons. Number one, my story of how I got here is very long and jagged. But I've been involved since 2014.
It's a long run.
It is a
Almost a
long run. We're
decade.
going on 10 years. And it started off just as a volunteer. I had gone to UNCW, lived in the area in the early and mid 90s when Wrightsville Beach was a beautiful, beautiful, peaceful little place in
village.
the wind. Oh gosh, I miss those days. And anybody listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. But left in 99, came back with my family, husband and kids in 2014. And being a high school teacher, I teach, the coastal physics and engineering. I teach environmental science, and I also teach a research course. But it's really important for me to model to my students and my own family what I really believe in and what
Stewardship.
practice what I preach in that case. And so getting involved with Surfrider was kind of a no-brainer, loving the ocean, loving surfing. My kids were really into surfing for a while, and started off working with the most beautiful woman, Ginger, and Bonnie Monteleone from Plastic Ocean Project, and was sort of the part of the first committee for the Ocean Friendly Establishments Initiative. And I was sort of the Surfrider representative in that initiative. That's kind of my first big job that I would say. Pretty much have held every office except treasurer, which I have no business holding.
We're not doing that.
No, which I have no
Nobody wants
business
that.
at
Unless you're an
all.
accountant.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness for Dan Ambrose to keep me in check. But and you guys, I'm sure, can attest, we're busy working moms and women, and we spread ourselves too thin. And I was the vice chair, the cushy vice chair for a great couple of years under some amazing leadership. I had some wonderful predecessors in Ethan Crouch and Kevin Piacenza and Dave Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah. We love Dave Jacobs.
And Dave just had run its course, and he was ready, and it was just my turn. I wasn't ready, to be honest. I wasn't, I was cushy in my little, oh, Dave, what do you need? Okay,
Yeah,
sure. In
yeah.
that little sort of second place.
Yes, yeah. Help model.
But to be honest, I never could have accepted the position without the incredible team of people that I have. And I know, Laurel, that you got to have a little taste of that.
Yeah.
But Sarah Kavrak was my vice chair for a while. Now she's turned over doing some great stuff with the Blue Water Task Force. Adam Root really takes initiative with all the beach cleanups. I don't have to do anything except show up for a few when his baby is sick. And Maya Deary and Brad Turner are doing some incredible work with our Learn to Swim and Learn to Surf program in our Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Initiative. And And we've got some other great team members that are just, they take what needs to be done and do it. I'm the type of leader that like, I just ain't got time to be the strategist to come up with these brilliant ideas. Like, I'm just such a tactical person. Like, you tell me what you want and I'm there. I've got the to-do list. I've got the funds. I've got the resources. I will get it done. And I can show up for anything. But yeah, I have a great team of people that are putting some amazing stuff together. And I say, who do I write the check to and where do I need to be?
Yeah.
So.
And so what is the thing that you feel like is, what's the most insidious thing that's happening with our ocean or our area, or thing that really we should all be like, oh my God, I can't sleep at night.
Right. I don't.
Yeah, do tell us how we can worry about that.
Yeah. So from, the Surfrider's perspective, I think we're looking at a few things being an issue. Obviously, ocean plastic. And we, this is not news. This is not Keni Rienks saying ocean plastic is bad for the first time on this podcast. This is our reality. We're really lucky in our area, to be completely honest. We have beach cleanups and people are like, wait, this was it? Like, I got this little bag, and they're like, woo, 2 ounces.
Depends on the day.
Yeah,
You need to
it
come
does
down to
depend
the
on the
Cape Fear
day.
River. That'd be
Right. But you travel to some of the places. Like I just was in Fort Lauderdale at one point last year, and just
yeah.
God, just like the trash is insane.
It's worse other places than
It
that.
is.
too.
It is.
Yeah.
And so, locally, yes, ocean plastic is a concern. We've got some fantastic organizations. Surfrider is doing great things, but Plastic Ocean Project and Cape Fear River Watch really have that dialed in.
Well, I have a question because I've been watching these pretty compelling videos lately of these debris removal systems, and I guess they put them in some areas along the coast, but typically in river systems and stuff before it even gets to the ocean. Are we just not polluted enough to require something like that? Or why haven't we done anything?
We do have those, believe it or not. The Cape Fear River Watch has a few that are in the watershed that drains into the Cape Fear River. So they're more of the downtown areas. And they're right before a storm drain. So they're not necessarily floating in the ocean. But Surfrider and Keep New Hanover County Beautiful have a sea bin, which is basically like the trash, a floating trash bin. We have one near the Wrightsville Beach Marina at the river.
And near the Wrightsville Beach Marina.
No, I just said right. What is that? What
Wilmington
is the
Marina?
The
Port City Marina.
Yes, I'm sorry. The Port City Marina. But the hardest thing is emptying it. We need volunteers to help empty it.
How does it empty? What I don't understand.
So it's just like a big garbage can, and it
Okay.
just sort of sits there, and the water comes in, and then you have to empty it, and then it literally just sits there.
Okay.
And as the things float over, it catches the stuff,
Okay.
and then it's just literally.
Do you have to be strong to empty it? Is it heavy?
I don't think so. I'm the chair, but I've never emptied.
That's horrible. That's terrible.
But that's what I delegate.
Yes.
That's
Well,
my job.
That was going to be my second question is, do you guys cooperate with Cape Fear River Watch? Because it seems like any problem that you're going to have, they've already had or they are having.
Absolutely. And I think that's, like I said, we're in such a wonderful place with so many great organizations. And Cape Fear River Watch does an excellent job at keeping like the Cape Fear River and its watershed. Surfrider focuses, yes, on those areas, but our Blue Water Task Force has just started taking water quality measurements of the ocean side. And we kind of focus on cleaning up more of the ocean side. We do participate in a lot of cleanups in conjunction. And at my school, I also have a Surfrider club that's run by students, and they also do areas around Greenfield Lake. We've done pickups around Smith Creek. So we are hitting those tributaries into the Cape Fear River as well, because of course it does drain directly into the ocean and the beaches. So it's important to do everywhere.
I'm glad to hear we have some of those debris removals.
Yeah.
I need to go look at them and
Go
see where
empty
they
one.
are. I'm at Port City Marina a lot.
Yeah, go look for it.
I will.
I would love to hear. I mean, I know. Well, you can tell us the mission of Surfrider, but just as an organization, I mean, y'all are huge. And so I was curious, like, are your funds coming down into like a river into the tributaries, or are you all donation based? Like, how do you have your funding, and what can our listeners do?
Yeah, both. So we, being part of a national organization, when you visit our website or visit any sort of Surfrider national website, and you click donate or click become a member, you can designate like your zip code. So your membership fees will go to our chapter. Partial
okay.
membership fees will go to our chapter. But
And what is the membership fee?
whatever you want.
Okay.
There is no set designated. It could be $5 a year. It could be $100 a year. It could be $10 a month. There is no set fee. If you make one donation a year, you become a member.
I wonder if that is based on the philosophy, if you don't put a number, people tend to do more than if you put a low number. Because
They just don't want to
like
deter anybody from being
Right. And I
participant.
think, particularly in the last few years, just like many organizations, the JEDI, the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion aspect of the organization, we've really tried to make it so it's not the persona of a bunch of surfers, which many of us are, but many people aren't. The name Surfrider does have sort of an
connotation.
implication,
Yep.
but the mission has nothing to do with surfing. If you read the mission, it doesn't say making sure everybody can stand up on a board and paddle into the biggest wave ever.
No,
but it is
confusing,
enjoy
though.
the waves, and that everyone can enjoy the ocean and the waves. so.
Correct. But it doesn't necessarily have to be standing up on a surfboard.
No, yeah.
No, but that's something that would deter me from being a Surfrider member, is that I'm like, oh, Surfrider, that's for somebody else.
For people that ride the surf.
Yeah, those are for surfers.
Yeah, lots of ways to ride the surf, right?
Yeah, on a plastic bottle. That's a bad joke. That's a bad joke. So let's segue.
Yes.
We have already mentioned beach access, talking about the mats and everything. And I know that's a big part of what you guys are, part of your mission. And Laurel and I have been lamenting the loss of real equitable public beach access for a long time now. Like since our first podcast, we've been complaining about it.
Sure.
So what is your take on the current kind of development in our area? What's going to happen with Riceville Beach? I mean,
Is it going to be a gated?
are they going to just
Riceville
gate
Beach?
that crap up, or what's?
Well, did you guys read in the news? They're going to redo the drawbridge.
Okay. Is that a good thing?
Well, just teaching coastal engineering, I'm just kind of,
okay.
looking to have sort of a little bit of a pulse on some of these larger projects that are going to happen.
And would it still be
Yeah.
a drawbridge?
That's still, I believe, still in the plans on how it's going to look
It'd
and how
have
that's
to
going to
be-
happen.
I mean, it would start really far out if it was going to be a high rise.
But I'm not sure if it's going to be, one of those really big,
Like Sunset?
like Sunset, or if it's just widening.
But it's so quaint. I mean, I know it's a pain in the butt or whatever, but it's quaint to have a drawbridge.
It is quaint to have a
Yeah.
drawbridge, and it's beautiful.
So we fear change. That's
We
obvious.
do fear change.
But changing that isn't going to change the beach access.
Or is it?
No, not at
Dun,
all.
dun,
But it's
dun.
just, right? I think it's going to maybe increase accessibility, but that doesn't help people that need to rely on public transportation. No matter what the bridge looks like, if
Right.
you don't have a car or a
Vehicle?
bike or something and enough money to pay for the parking, then you're not going to go to Wrightsville Beach.
It's just finding the parking.
Finding the parking.
Holy crap. Are they going to do a trolley service?
No, they don't want a trolley
They don't
service.
want
I
a trolley
thought that was
service.
going to happen though with the old Harris Teeter parking, the old way down by the toastery. What was
Right.
that?
That
was
was
a
going to be a
strip.
shopping center, I think.
No, but I thought they were going to
Or
make it a
apartments.
trolley center. No, it's not going to happen.
No.
That I
don't
have not
think-
heard.
I don't think Wrightsville Beach wants a trolley. They don't want, because it used to run from downtown
Yeah.
to the beach. So I don't think they are interested in not having people pay for parking, even though they've maxed out parking. I mean, I do feel like that is an injustice, and not just Wrightsville Beach.
Right.
Heather, who was running for the gun slinging politician,
Surf City.
Surf City, she was running for public office, and she found, even within Surf City, some like a trailer park that's within the city limits, but they don't get passes, even though other people get passes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're having their
What do you guys say
local
about
residents.
that, Surfrider?
Yeah.
Fix it, Surfrider. But it's not. We pick on Wrightsville Beach because it's in our proximity. But Wrightsville Beach could never contain the population that we have in Wilmington anyway.
No.
But then when you look north, okay, so there's a private island, which sucks, but whatever, it's been there a long time. And then you look south, and it's getting just as congested.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
You
nowhere
can't
to
park
go.
there either.
There's nowhere to go unless you get on a ferry.
Right.
Yeah, no, from there.
Right.
No, there's nowhere to go. So unless you have a boat to take
Which,
you to
of course.
Masonboro or take you to Hugh Taff or Lee Island, both, however you call it, you're done. You're just going to wait in line for that one parking spot to open up.
So how do you prioritize? Do you get to choose for your Surfrider chapter where your money is spent and your initiatives that you're prioritizing? Because I know with FOAM, I'm kind of doing both Rincon, Puerto Rico, and I know they've got a lot of development issues that are messing up the water quality in Puerto Rico, where I don't think we have maybe necessarily that here. So
We do. We have a lot of power in deciding how we spend our money. And we usually have a strategic planning meeting as the executive board at the start of each year and saying, here's what we'd like to do. Here's how much money we need to do that. And do we have enough based on historic donations? Do we need to really kick it in and have a specific fundraising? Which we're hoping to be able to. I think our next big fundraising thing is going to be for our Jedi program. For the past few years, we have sponsored a Learn to Swim program and taking students that would never have been in the water, been on the water, anything. We took them on an eco kayak tour with Kaylin Plummer.
Oh, I love Kaylin.
Yeah. And her organization, who has been amazing with taking
Wilmington Outdoor Adventures.
Yes, taking our students out. And then Sweetwater Surf Shop has provided 2 days of free surf lessons.
Wow.
So we've seen one set go through. We've learned to swim, we went kayaking, and then we learned to surf. And we've only been able to do that for 5 people. So we'd really like to be able to fund more camp attendees and more surf opportunities.
I mean, it's kind of tough because your weather, like I showed up for one swim lesson that we got rain, like a huge storm came in, so they canceled that. And then back probably 10 years ago, I was like trying to do something like that, and I'd gone and myself and 2 other friends of mine that surf, and we were like, man, I'd really like to get some more people out here to surf that, Anyway, so we went to the girls club. No, we went to the YWCA, and they were super receptive. And since, they have their own like insurance and all that, because that's a huge part of this is liability, but they were going to cover it and provide the transportation to get there. And so we just had to show up, and they came a few times. We had one girl, but she loved it. It was going great. But then they just got so busy. They couldn't, and it was all on them. So it's not like we could go, well, y'all are slack. But it was like, please come on,
Well, that's when, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's when I think it's helpful to subcontract. So it's not all on them. If you have somebody like Mermaid Surf Co. that's already insured, that has all the boards, that has all the stuff, and it's just like zoom, done.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be
And
overwhelmed.
so Sweetwater was the one providing
Sweetwater worked with us. Yeah. We also
Surf
have
camp.
2 of our board members that have started their own non-for-profit called Share the Stoke. And they've worked with Indojacks
Okay,
on taking some students from the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
And so, there's some amazing things happening all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities for this to happen. It's just getting the funding, getting the manpower to
In
be
the
able
base
to,
of swimming.
and
You
the
know,
ba-
like that
and
was
learning
kind of
to
the big
swim.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't even want to open up the next can because I wanted to talk about the estuaries and how concerned I am since we have such a large estuary area. That seems like a whole other podcast. So, yeah.
Well, we might, was there any one other little thing before we drift into a little Devo-ish
No,
waters?
but if we do the Devo, I think we should not put pressure on ourselves to have a full-on discussion.
Yeah,
I
because
was
we don't have
thinking-
time for that.
Well, not
We
just
have
that,
another
but I
podcast
just
to do,
noticed
Ashley.
The last couple of podcasts were like, we could just share the Devo. And that's
Yeah.
enough sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, go girl.
Well, I just was looking at stewardship scriptures. So, but this is maybe a little bit weird, but anyway, Proverbs
Here we go.
21:20.
Here we go.
I'm just prefacing. Precious treasure and oil are in the dwelling of a wise person, but a foolish man consumes them.
That's horrible because as soon as you said oil, you know what I thought? I thought of
Oil slick?
no, I didn't. I thought, ooh, yummy, olive oil and heavily salted lettuce leaves. And I was thinking of consuming the oil. What does this say? What
It
does
says
this
you're
say about
hungry.
me? No, it says I'm a foolish man. Oh, man.
No. So in my mind, like when we're wise and we're doing the things, a foolish man consumes them. So always on the consumption train.
Tears up the resources.
Yeah,
Eats it all
instead
up.
of maybe even treasuring what we have and investing and taking care of and stewarding. Just what I had said at the Surfrider chapter meeting that I think everybody maybe resonated with was because we all get it when we're at the ocean is just those good vibes, the heart moment of taking a deep breath and just a heavy exhale of seeing the just beauty of creation and making sure that that's a priority. If we're just using it for our own pleasure,
Weird. Well, speaking to that, in our area, and, when I think about the demographic that is on the ocean a lot, you can equate this proverb to Wilmington. We have
Abundance.
If we're wise, we have an abundance, but we're also good stewards of the abundance. And the foolish people would cut it down and build the big house and all this. It doesn't apply across the board, though, because I think about desperation in places like Haiti, where they just slash and burn because there's corruption and there's just it's not a degenerance. It's like they're hungry and suffering and struggling and.
yeah, but this
That's different.
is applying to those who have the government that is corrupt, the people that take the power and use it for their own benefit and aren't serving the people. That's what it is. It's not. I don't think what the people are doing has anything to do with that. They're surviving. They're survive mode.
It's different.
But it's the people who are in charge who are, just filling up their cup, filling up their whatever, and disregarding.
I like how it calls us to take responsibility for our own actions too, though.
Yeah. Well,
Because if you're literate and you can read this proverb, you certainly can have some self-reflection too.
for sure. What do you think, Keni? Any thoughts?
She thinks I'm right about all of that.
I think you're both, first of all, so right in
Aw,
that. Yes.
there.
Just first of all, I feel so honored just being here and listening to you both share those things. Not having much of a religious background, but being extremely spiritual. Hearing you talk about the word stewardship and abundance, and just because you have abundance doesn't mean you disregard the stewardship, and just because you are a steward doesn't mean you can't have abundance. And I think that's so important for people, particularly in this area that do have a lot, that it's okay to have that, but it's also important to make sure that you're sharing and to make sure that you're connecting with the people that share it and that don't.
With great power comes great responsibility, just like Spider-Man.
Oh, sure. Just bring another verse in.
All roads lead back to Spider-Man.
Well,
All right.
Keni, we just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We were her first podcast, y'all, that she's been on.
Bet you can't tell.
She's going to get a lot of calls now.
Well, I'm gonna link in our resources when the podcast drops. And I make the page. I'll have Cape Fear Surfrider.org. And I'll also reach out to you if there's other people that you want to include that you think could be helpful.
Great.
Or any articles or anything.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about Surfrider and the amazing things, particularly with two amazing women.
Oh, stop it, Keni. Stop it.
Darn.
Stop. Okay, well, thank you, Keni. Laurel, see you in like 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.